Let's go ahead and get started with a very brief introduction to just how you work within the Grasshopper interface. Now, right now on my screen, I have the Rhino for Windows interface open, and there's a little command line here that I'm going to type Grasshopper into in just a moment. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is actually just organize my screen a little bit. I tend to like to have the Grasshopper kind of graph window and the Rhino window just available side by side, so I can kind of both see the results as well as the graph. So what I'm going to do is just pull by the title bar my Grasshopper window just over to the side, and I can dock it into the side of the screen. Now when I go through and type in Grasshopper, you'll see I have the new graph window. It's opening up over on the left-hand side. Now, a lot of things about Grasshopper and Dynamo are very, very similar. So many things are going to look very familiar. They are almost so familiar that it's confusing in that they operate just a little bit differently. So for example, we have, as opposed to a library pane over here where we click on nodes, we have a ribbon where we drag nodes down into the graph area. And this ribbon is organized into different tabs. There's sort of organizing based upon the different types of functions that are available. Then within the tabs, there's individual panes. And even one step further, there is the full menu of the different objects that fall into that category if you pull on down. Okay, so they try to organize it with the things you'll need most often up at the top in the ribbon and the panes, but you may sometimes not be able to find things that way. In fact, what I tend to do more often than not is, rather than go browsing that way, is to just search for things. And I'll do that by just double clicking in the graph area, and I can type in something that I'm looking for. For example, if I'm looking for a circle function where I can create a circle by its center points, I can just choose it, and I click on it and bring the node down in there. So again, I can bring nodes down in by dragging or by searching. Okay, either one of those things work. Okay, so let's just kind of think about just working with these nodes and how we do that. Again, you saw that I can either kind of find things that I need up here. So for example, if I need a number, I can bring that on down, okay? Or I can search, that'll work just fine. If you want to find out more about a specific node, here's what you do. You can hover over a node, and you'll tend to actually get help about really what that node does. So little kind of pop-up things. It also tells you a little about the current value of the node, which is very useful. Okay, if we want to rename a node, for example, for this node over here, I don't want it to be a number. I'm going to put a number in there, but I want to give it a different name. Like I'm going to go through and use it for the radius of a circle. What I can do is right-click on that, and in the little dialog that pops up, there's a text box here which lets us go through and kind of enter a name. So it's going to be my radius value. Okay. It's still going to expect a numeric value, okay, but it actually just has that name associated with it now. Now, when it comes time to actually give that a value, there's a number of ways we can do that. We can go through and either just set the number, okay, and I can type a number in here. For example, I want that to be the number 5. Actually, I don't think I committed that. Let me try that again. 5, and I'll commit the changes. Okay, now that's filled in, and it has the value 5. You can see when I hover over there, kind of like the preview in Dynamo. The other way to do this is I can use this very special node over here. It's called the panel node. And if I put a value in here and link that in there, okay, it'll pick up the value that way. Okay, so I can name things that way. I can duplicate nodes. For example, if I need another number node, or if I need another panel node, I can just Control-C, Control-V, kind of get a separate one, Control-V, get a third one. So I can kind of make the nodes very easily. Okay, what I'm going to do, tend to go through and just pull and tie it in there. Now, if you want to unlink, on the other hand, you can't just kind of pull out the way you can in Dynamo. What you have to do is just right-click on the input, and you can say disconnect. Super. Okay, a couple other things to think about just in terms of working with the interface for grouping. If we want to create a group of nodes so that we can work with them all together, you can kind of contain them, drag around to contain them. You get that little box, which will have some controls that let you control the centering and the alignment for those different things. But once you've done that, you can right-click in the box, and you can say group them. And then that's available. They'll all operate as a group, which is often what you want to do to kind of make it easier to operate around in there. Now, if you have a node that you want to add to a group, what you have to do is actually just select the group. I have it selected right now, so I'll select that group. And then what I can do is, I think it's just right-click on that, add to group. Then I can choose, actually I take that back, right there. Add to group. Nope, I'm doing this wrong. Let me do there, over here, and then say add to group. Kind of select them both. Okay. As I said, I often get confused because things are so similar to Dynamo, but not quite the same. Okay, let's try it the other way. So if, as opposed to adding to a group, we want to remove from group, let's try this. If I select that node, that's just going to let me change the node itself. Let me go ahead and select the group. Let me say remove from the group. And then let's try that. Nope. I will select the node and the group. Try that. And try remove from group. And that's better. Okay, so a little bit of difference there. So watch out for that in terms of adding or selecting or not. So again, it's group, select the second node, add, oops, hover over the group and add to group. Okay, or group, select the secondary node, hover over the group, remove from group. Okay, hopefully that won't be too confusing. Now, in terms of thinking about things running for you, in general, since Grasshopper is relatively lightweight, it's just doing math for the most part, as opposed to manipulating a lot of geometry. It just runs automatically all the time. But as you get very big graphs, you may want to stop that and have it run more manually. To do that, under the solution menu, you can choose that you want to disable the solver. That just locks it temporarily, so it's not going to make any changes as you go back and kind of adjust the graph, and you can kind of turn that back on again when you want to restart evaluating. The other thing you can do is, if you have a node and you know that node is just, it's out of date. You can go through and right-click on a node, and you can say that you want to recompute that node, just generally by right-clicking on it. Let's see if this one will let me do it over here. Looks like I don't have enough wired up right now to make that happen, but we'll show you that later. So again, you can just recompute to force things to go through and reevaluate at the time. Okay, so that should be enough to get you started with the Grasshopper interface. Let's go ahead, and next we're going to turn our attention just to how we go through and kind of create some numbers and series of numbers and things like that that are more useful to you.